You touch me one more time, I'll show you who I am.
Oh no. CBC's back at it. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we got the CBC down in America trying to stir up all this stuff with Donald Trump again because it's gone out of the news, and that's not helping Carney because the Liberals have nothing else to run on. Their disastrous record over the past 10 years, not exactly a good look for a campaign. We also got the leadership debate going on here today in French. A lot of moving parts with that. We got some other stuff here. Let's jump into this. First up, we got some new polling data. This is coming from David Coletto, Abacus Data. So Abacus Data is one of the better pollsters. Now, just something to remember with polling. We've been looking at this for a while. In general, conservatives are not properly represented in polls because often rural people vote conservative and pollsters just don't reach rural populations. The same thing happened in America. But what we're seeing here, 40% for the Liberals, 38% for the Conservatives, and the NDP being 11%, much lower than their typical turnout. As David Jacobs says, the most important number in this poll is the NDP sitting at 11. He predicts the NDP collapse is grossly overstated. Someone who traditionally votes NDP is not going to give a former Goldman Sachs banker, Mark Carney, vote. That's a very valid point. In contrast, we got like Nick Nano's poll here on CTV. Nick Nano's is a liberal. I don't know how he's doing his data, but he's shown 50% for the Liberals. Now this one's 44. So his polls are out to lunch. Bogus polls. We see support on the ground, and Liberal supporters hardly show up to any rallies. We got this one coming from Candace Malcolm here saying Elections Canada refuses to investigate Buttongate. This is the Liberals caught planting these phony buttons at a Conservative conference. They won't investigate it. Of course they won't. We got Pierre coming out with his economic action plan here. Zero capital gains tax when you invest in Canada. Boom. Zero sales tax on new homes. Incentivize municipalities to cut building taxes. Cut income tax by 15%. Train 350,000 trades workers. Build an east-west pipeline for national energy corridor. Let working seniors earn $34,000 tax-free, $10,000 more than right now. That's amazing. What a great plan. All these are great. And that's not even half of what he's come out with. So update on the French debate that's going on here soon. So to get everyone caught up here. So the Green Party was permitted to join the debate, and now they're not allowed to join the debate. When it comes down to it, they don't meet the criteria. They have to have one elected member of parliament. They had to have a seat. They'd have 90% of the ridings had to be filled with candidates, and they had to be polling at 4%. Now, what's funny is the polling numbers we've seen are skewed, and like they should be trustworthy, but they really don't seem to be trustworthy. We have polling firms like Ecos and Liaison Strategies pushing out garbage data. But either way, the Greens don't meet the 4% rule, and they don't meet the 90% of ridings having a candidate. They are not allowed to participate.
Let me be clear. Their last-minute decision to exclude the Green Party of Canada from the leaders' debate is not only unjust and baseless because we met the criteria, it is undemocratic. It comes more than 7 days after the final list of candidates was received and announced.
I don't know what he's saying there because Elizabeth May was saying the same thing, but they just haven't met the criteria, period. And if they allow them in, then why wouldn't they let the PPC in? It's just neither of them meet the criteria, and it doesn't make sense to give airtime to a party that basically doesn't exist in the country. It should all be given to the parties that do have support. Next up, you got to check out this absolutely ridiculous NDP ad.
You touch me one more time, I'll show you who I am. I'm your NDP candidate for Don Valley North, who is going to be your voice, your family's voice, and your future, and I'm going to work for you here in Don Valley North. You touch me one more time, I'll show you who I am.
Oh no.
I'm your NDP candidate.
This is so awful. Is this like we're gonna fight back kind of thing? And that, come on, guys. This is so dumb. And it's funny, this person's posting that gets the Liberals have one too.
Touch me again, and I'll tell you exactly who I am. I'm Bruce Fanjoy, and I'm the Liberal candidate in Carleton, running against Pierre Poilievre. Together we can.
Oh, get out of here, Fanjoy. That was so dumb. At least the NDP one had better acting. This was just awful. Next up, we got Brian Lilly here calling out Neil Young. So he's come out and endorsed Mark Carney. Mr. Carney, I believe you're the person to do it. I believe you're the person our country needs, blah, blah, blah. It's heavy lift for sure, Mr. Carney, but I, for one, am with you all the way. Peace, Neil Young. Well, Brian Lilly pointing out that Neil Young moved to Los Angeles in 1966 when he was 22 and has spent most of his life living in California. I'm sorry, Neil, you're basically an American. You don't get any say what's going on in our country because you're not a part of our country. These celebrity endorsements are pitiful. First Mike Myers, then Neil Young. If you watch my previous video, Mark Carney is doing business with Donald Trump and Elon Musk. He's serving America's best interest, not Canada's. They get all these Canadian-born people who are Americans now to endorse Mark Carney. Not a good look. So we got this one blowing up in the media during the press event here in America. CBC shows up to ask a question, trying to stir up the Donald Trump tariff situation to help Mark Carney in the polls. As Warren says here, and with that, I do believe Trump regime will guarantee the election of Mark Carney.
Sure.
On tariffs, yesterday in the Oval Office...
Which outlet are you with?
The Canadian Public Broadcaster.
Oh, nice to see you.
Thank you. Yesterday in the Oval Office, President Trump suggested that there could be some help for automakers. I'm wondering what that looks like. Is it tariff relief on the 25% tariffs that are in place right now, or the new tariffs that are coming up in May on auto parts? And a second on Canada, if I may. President Trump's tone when it comes to Canada-U.S. relations, Canadians have noticed it's shifted a bit in the past few weeks. Ever since the election campaign started, he stopped talking about Canada becoming the 51st state, at least publicly. I'm wondering if that's on purpose and why.
I would reject the president's position on Canada has shifted. Perhaps he just hasn't been asked about Canada by questions from this group in the Oval Office, but they see him almost every day. But the president still maintains his position on Canada. The United States has been subsidizing Canada's national defense, and he believes that Canadians would benefit greatly from becoming the 51st state.
So she just said it, national defense. Pierre's coming out with a strong plan for national defense and increasing our military and helping defend North America with America against China, Russia, all these other countries.
Of the United States of America. As for autos and auto parts, I don't have anything to read out for you there, but I think the point the president was making is flexibility, and he has flexibility when it comes to negotiations and talks, but ultimately his goal in his fair trade deals that he is pursuing with many countries around the world is to put the American worker first. And we had automakers and auto workers here at the White House on Liberation Day who believe in this president and his negotiating ability to put them first and to bring those jobs back to the United States of America. And the president's been very clear about that in his conversations with the automakers as well.
The main takeaway from this clip here is Caroline Levitt asked who was asking the question. She didn't identify herself as CBC. I think they were trying to slip this under the rug. They're trying to stir up annexation talk and fear of Donald Trump to help Mark Carney in the polls. This is quite obvious, and it's despicable. So the CBC sent an operative to ask a loaded question to swing the election. Ooh, that right there, FlexJS, got it nailed. Why would you say that Mark has been ineffective and nothing has changed? Really not a surprise that since, because of the Liberals, we haven't had a government for 8 months and Mark has done nothing useful. I personally see Mark failing his addition, which should explain the Liberal dirty tricks. Only proves Carney's not the man who can effectively deal with Trump. We also have this clip here of Adam Vancouverden speaking on Palestine. Notice Mark Carney is right beside him here. It's interesting too. I won't stop it during the video, but Mark Carney seems to step forward and almost want to stop Vancouverden from speaking. His body language almost gesturing he's going to take over the mic, but Adam Vancouverden just keeps going. Listen to this.
And you don't have to be Muslim to care about Gaza, by the way. I'm not Muslim and I care about Gaza. But it comes down to this. In response to Trump's so-called plan, Gaza belongs to Palestinians, period. And that's a principle that I will stand for because I've worked in Gaza. I've done humanitarian aid work in Rafah, in Ramallah, in Jericho. I have kept in touch with my friends who thankfully are safe. When I went to the Paris Olympics last summer, I met with the Palestinian delegation because that's important to me, because it's important to my constituents here. So to all of the Juma prayer folks that stuck around here at Elevate Basketball over the last hour, because they finished their prayers at 1:30, but they wanted to meet you, and I invited them. They weren't necessarily part of the big group, but I was like, oh, you guys are here, cool, stick around. Ramadan Mubarak, thank you for your advocacy, and thank you for allowing me to be your voice in Ottawa.
Yeah, somehow I don't think you guys are getting the Jewish vote this election, are you? They stand with Gaza, and that's why there's never any arrests for all the stuff that's going on in our streets. So in contrast, we have stories like this. I showed the other day, drunk driver ended this 6-year-old girl, let out on bail. Well, it turns out some Canadians do get punished, like Tamara Lynch and Chris Barber. So Chris posting here, my family got bad news today. Crown prosecutor wants to lock Tamara Lynch and me up in prison for 2 years for standing up for freedom. They also want to seize my truck, Big Red, and crush her like she's scrap metal. title or sell at auction. He goes on to talk about Big Red here being part of his family. His son was his first passenger. This is absolutely absurd. The stuff that Palestinian protesters do in the streets are far worse than anything that anyone from the Freedom Convoy did. So just that alone, the fact they want to lock them up, crush the truck, this is not going to end well, liberals. You won't be able to get away with this. There'll be a huge uprising. Just check the comments. Canadians are already pushed beyond our limits here. This would be the nail in the coffin. There's already a group of people pushing to move to Alberta to separate. If Alberta separates, Saskatchewan separates. There's also an uprising here in British Columbia. If we get rid of David Eby, I can see BC joining Alberta and Saskatchewan forming one country, maybe pulling Yukon with it. Quebec separates, Canada falls. These are the dominoes that are all in place here. Mark Carney has to go. This guy can't be trusted with anything. As Dan Mazier has posted here, Mark Carney admits that under his plan, government will favor some industries and penalize others. This is not democracy. This is turning into communism.
Anticipate, game out and anticipate where the price on carbon may need to go. Anticipate which activities will be favored and which will be penalized as the economy, by regulation, by government action, as the economy shifts from where we are today to where we need to get to tomorrow.
This guy's unbelievable. We got Wiccan here posting a quote from Mark Carney's book, Values. Firms that align their business models with the transition of a net zero economy will be rewarded handsomely. Those that fail to adapt will cease to exist. And just to show people this is actually in his book, this is Mark Carney's book here. This is coming from page 13, firms that align their business model transition to net zero. It's right here. It's in his book. Moving on here, you got to check this out. So we've got Cat Canada posting this one. So Laurie Ann Kempton gives Canada tips on how to spot disinformation.
The online space is particularly vulnerable to disinformation, as many of the most reliable sources of information are absent. This increases the likelihood that Canadians could encounter disinformation that is being shared within their networks, wittingly or unwittingly.
Which networks are absent? Who are you talking about?
As we approach the leaders' debate this week, Canadians should be mindful of the information that they are consuming. As spotting instances of information manipulation can be difficult, we want to discuss some of the things to watch out for.
Content can be questionable if it provokes an emotional response, particularly with negative or frightening claims, or with bold or extreme statements on a controversial issue.
This is absurd because the stuff that the Liberals have done in the government is bold, it is frightening, and brings on the emotion of fear, panic, or just worry to all Canadians. I mean, we still have the SDTC documents still locked up. What's going on in there? Hundreds of millions of dollars shuffled off to connected insiders? We don't know. Is that misinformation? Or is it when the government does it, that's okay? It's only if creators report that, that's why it's misinformation, because they're getting exposed.
Manipulated information can also contain what is called clickbait, which is purposefully misleading headlines, images, and videos meant to entice you to click on specific links and engage with its content.
I mean, it's pretty obvious these days. If you see a title that's kind of outrageous, like Mark Carney is leaving the campaign and going to space, and there's a photo of him wearing a space helmet, obviously it's generated by AI and it's not real. And if someone doesn't know, they can just check the video, check the sources. The instances where you see, especially a lot on X, you'll see people generating images. If there's titles on that stuff with generated images, then it gets a little bit cloudy. For that reason, I always post sources on my videos so people know the actual source. You can go check it for yourself. Then again, you guys already know that my channel's built off of not using clickbait. I always deliver what is in the title in my videos.
It's important to verify sources. One method is by searching them on any well-known search engine. You can also use fact-checking tools to verify the information you're reading and check multiple sources to ensure the information fits with what most of the experts on that topic are saying.
Why is this even a press conference? That's obvious. You can just double check sources if you're not sure if it's true.
For more of these tips, we encourage Canadians to make use of the tools and resources available on the Democratic Institution's website.
You guys should make a website that points out the corruption of the Liberal government. So glad the government is here to tell us how to spot it. I'm sorry, what? Yeah, exactly. This is just preposterous. Read between the lines. This is the beginning of social media censorship. They have to roll it out slowly, soften the messaging. Quite possible. Thought I'd throw this one in here. So this lady's at Tim Hortons. The whole place is getting overrun by Palestinian protests.
This is Canada. This is a Tim Hortons.
Like, come on. Start arresting people. 30 days in jail. Stop being an idiot. Disturbing the peace, you're going to jail. Like, let's solve this problem. At the end here, we did get one free Canada pushing back. Free Canada. We live in a clown show right now. Canada actually seems worse than the UK. It's not, though. The UK has worse censorship laws right now. They're much further than us along this path. I think the corruption in our government, the ties are much deeper in China. That's worse, but the actual laws in the UK are worse right now. I've been talking with a lot of people, and a guy messaged me showing the state of his mother's house here. So he's now trying to help his mom get back on her feet. They're living in their cars for a couple of months because the house collapsed here. The Liberals won't support them at all. Meanwhile, they're giving free housing and $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year to refugees. There are houses available, with one of them even recently being burned down by a refugee. They just gave these people another house after they burned down the one they were living in, yet this Canadian family gets no support. Currently, they're living in an RV in the back, but I mean, this is a rough situation here. If anyone wants to help out, they've got a fundraiser here. It's just sickening that there's never support for Canadians, but it always goes to refugees. And a lot of these refugees, we know full well, they're coming from places where they're not fleeing for their lives, like India. The polls are changing. People's opinions of Carney are changing. We are going to get this election. Keep spreading the word. We are going to get our country back.